Okay, so I'm a recovering people pleaser and I can say no with ease these days. Sometimes not, but we can talk about that later. But most of the time, I can. And in this video, I want to show you the exact steps I took. It's like a bit of a formula that you can use to be able to get started with ease so you're not stressing, right? And assuming that you have probably not ever put in boundaries before, or you really feel a lot of guilt when you say no. Maybe you just always feel like you say the wrong thing. I've done that a few times. And maybe I'm just assuming that kind of you're in this space that saying no is a completely new experience with zero confidence putting it in place. So if that is where you're at, that's where I was at a couple of years ago. So this formula will just make things so much easier for you. If you haven't watched any of my content before, I'm Lisa, the founder of She Feels Heard, and I help you to heal from people pleasing and thrive in a love, in life, and within you. I just want to take a little bit of time to acknowledge the fears that are probably coming up. I know that I had physical repercussions of even thinking about saying no, like not even actually doing it, but actually just thinking it. And then also, things like tight chest, shortness of breath. I was even having panic attacks at one point as well. But that's a story for another day. I was also very critical. I was catastrophizing, thinking, everything was going to go horribly wrong and that person would chastise me or hate me, and all sorts of thoughts going through my mind. So I just want to acknowledge the realness of how you feel about it. I know how scary it feels, and that's why I'm doing this video, so that it can make it easier, because it is probably one of the hardest things to do, but it's the best place to start. And once you get going with this formula, it will just change your life. And that's why I'm sharing it with you. I'm like, I just need to get this out to people because it brought me so much peace. So much peace. It built my confidence in saying no. And I didn't have to have this kind of like guilty, ruin my day situation even when I did it. So this is just going to be so life-changing for you. And I am so excited to be able to share it with you. So let's get started. The formula is just literally following an A, B, C, D method. So if you can remember that, you are winning. And then obviously remembering what they stand for. So we've got awaken is our first one. A stands for awaken. We need to awaken to these people-pleasing behaviors. And it's really a space to, like, when I say awaken, it's about noticing it in your day-to-day life, acknowledging it, accepting that that is part of what you're doing, and finding a lot of compassion around that is in accepting that you're doing it, knowing who you're doing it with, and all of those factors. So it's really kind of bringing everything into your awareness and awakening to these times where you really want to say no, but you find yourself saying yes. So awakening to the emotions that come around that as well. It's really a great time. One of the strategies that I often use with myself and with my clients is to write it down, because that way you can see the patterns and you can't deny that that's happening, and how you're feeling about it as well. What kind of feelings is it bringing up? It's going to be really important for when you're making change. So I love to do that strategy and start looking in my life, start noticing, where am I doing people pleasing? Where am I doing people pleasing, even with safe people? It's not just about doing it with toxic people. After a while, it becomes such a habit that we're now doing it with people we don't even need to do it with, and that would never guilt us and never shame us, but we're doing it because that's our new habit, right? So number one is just to awaken to it. And the reason that I use this as one step is because I think people just think like you go in and you just do it and then it's done. And I am always transparent on this channel. Like, change takes time. This is not something that I can just give you a script for and tomorrow you'll feel great and you won't ever feel guilty again. If you're a true people pleaser, this takes a lot of time and a lot of courage to overcome this fear. It is a legitimate fear. for your safety. And that's why I put in Awaken, because sometimes my clients and I spend a lot of time just kind of looking, not a lot, but a couple of weeks, looking at a lot of their behaviors and a lot of their thoughts and processes so that they can see the patterns, and they can also empower themselves to make the change themselves. So I'm not telling them where to make that change. Like, we really kind of brainstorm together and work out what part and what point and with who do we want to get started, and often what the safest part. So it's just a great way to kind of awaken, to notice, and to look at, reflect on how you're people pleasing in your life. Because often we go, yeah, I know I'm a people pleaser, but where is that? You know, who is that with? What is that costing you? Those kind of questions is really, really important. Okay, so the first step is just to awaken and probably do nothing about it. Still keep saying yes at this point. And that's a nice relief, because it means you can look at it, but you don't have to do anything about it right now. You can just find acceptance. And I would recommend a lot of compassion in this step as well. Number 2, so we have got B. B is probably my favorite. It's like my secret sauce. I still use it to this day. I still have to use it to this day. It is for automated responses, because I'll tell you what, we will say yes faster than you've asked. Like, you can literally finish the question and people pleasers will say, yeah, no worries, I'll do it. Yeah, cool. No waiting game. So B is for buffer boundaries. My buffer boundaries, again, like the secret sauce to my success. Like, this is what really changed everything when I decided to say no more. I didn't just, again, go in with say no. I used my buffer boundaries. So I started to say something along the lines, let's just give an example. Hey, could you do this extra project? I would say, let me have a look at my calendar and I'll get back to you with my capacity. And they're like little one-liners, like literally a one line that you can use to say, let me check. Let me, giving them the kind of let me just have a look situation and allowing you some time to actually think about it. You can be really specific. You can be really basic. You can say, hey, let me have a look at my schedule. You could say something like, I'll get back to you. Let me look at my schedule. I'll get back to you at 2:00 if you need to be more specific, particularly in a work setting is always helpful. That is really, really great. Now, what I did for a long time after that is like then procrastinate and just never get back to them. And then I would feel like a really bad person too. So I was like, need to be more productive at that time. So that's kind of where C came in, and C is for capacity. So I really had to kind of have a hard conversation with myself and look at my capacity, and not just physically. Like, yes, we can look at our calendars and we can look at our schedule and we can look at our to-do list. But another part that I feel people often miss is like your emotional capacity and your energy capacities. So, what are your emotional capacity right now? What is your energy? How are you feeling? Like, check in with yourself physically, mentally, emotionally. What is happening for you? And have you prioritized rest this week? Have you looked after yourself? Again, really taking that time, not just to look at the physical side, but also to check in with the person in here. Again, super hard as a people pleaser, because our needs don't matter, right? We don't need anything. We just go with the flow. We're just going with everyone else's needs, and their needs is more important. This is the time where, again, all of these strategies are teaching you so many other little things about yourself as you go. And knowing where your capacity is a really, really great tool. So we've found where we're people pleasing. We're using buffer boundaries, our little one-liners, to give us more time to think about them. In that time to think, we're thinking about our capacity and what that might look like for us. And then D. D is for decline. So once we have worked on all those 3 things, and honestly, you can still say yes after all of them. Hey, can you do this project? You're bringing it into awareness that awakening to, oh, this is a person I normally say yes to. I need to use a buffer boundary. And then you would say, hey, let me just check my schedule. Can I get back to you at 2? No worries. C, you're moving into capacity. Okay, do I honestly have the time to do this? I've got this on in my schedule. I'm feeling this and this. This has been happening for me. I probably need to prioritize this. And you can still say yes at this point. You could know all that information and still say yes. That's okay. It's okay, because it's not really about saying no. That's the end goal. What's important is that you practice building your confidence, even just pushing out the no, even just putting in a buffer boundary and checking with your capacity. That is winning. And I always say this to my clients, like, if you haven't done a consult with me yet, just jump on and I will help you with this. It's so life-changing, celebrating the wins each step of the way instead of, well, I haven't done that, so I'm a failure. Please know that every little micro success is what actually builds those confidence along the way, right? So if you want to say no with confidence, it's not just about the end goal. It is about every step along the way that you follow. And that's why I've got these 4 steps. So what I want you to do is decline without guilt. So when you feel safe enough, when you feel ready, which again, you'll never feel super ready, but you'll feel a little bit more confident than you did before, you're going to start to say no. And I have 7 strategies to do this. I'm going to do a video next week on this for you where I actually break one of them down. I'm going to give you like seriously examples, what to say, how to say it, so you can make it your own. You can use the exact script, whatever you want to do with it. I'm just going to break it all down for you. And that is going to be the way you decline. And you're just going to fall back on these kind of strategies. So we've got like, you can use a self-care no. You can use your empathetic no. You can use a firm no. You can use not right now. There's a whole heap of no's that you can learn. And if you want to learn those, I've got them all in my course. They are, it's just jam-packed with value that you have scripts. I give you examples. I give you examples of like what to do with toxic people, because let's face it, not everyone's going to respect our boundaries. And that's probably the hardest part. So make sure that you check out the link if you want full access to everything. But learning how to decline, so learning how to say no in the nicest way possible, because you are a kind person and sometimes no is a service. You can be kind and still say no. And that's the story that sorry, I had to go and sort my baby out because he was screaming. But that is it for the steps. So A, B, C, and D. Awaken to your people pleasing. Buffer boundaries in place so you can create some time and space to think about your answer. C is your capacity. You're checking in with what capacity you have this week, emotionally and physically and mentally. And being honest about it. And then D, you're learning the scripts that you need to decline. And like I said, next week, I will be going through one of my favorite scripts particularly for like really pushy people that just kind of like expect you to drop everything right now and come to their rescue. So that's going to be a really great way to start learning. It's another little quick tip where you don't really have to say no, but you are saying no in the moment. Another really, really helpful way to build your confidence in doing this. And you are going to feel great after some practice in this. You will discover it's not as scary as you think. It is a little bit hard to do at first, but with the right people, it can be really, really rewarding. It also really important to make sure that you do practice this with safe people first. And by safe people, I mean people that aren't going to guilt, shame, or punish you for saying no. They're going to maybe be shocked about it, but they're not going to make you kind of feel bad about putting in those boundaries. They're going to be really supportive of them, right? So make sure that is. Drop a comment below if you do struggle with saying no, if you feel like you have toxic people in your life that you'd struggle with. Let us know in the comments. Let me know if you've got any questions. I would love to hear your experience with saying no. And I will see you next week. Thanks, guys.